Breakfast at Mom's. I'm Mom, a.k.a. Sandra, and okay, these are my daughters, Candace and Alyssa.
There it is.
They're always moving. And these are my daughter-in-laws, Brooks and Felisha. And we're so glad that you have joined us this week for our online community of women where we come together every week to talk about things that we all face as women on a day-to-day basis. So this week, I get to moderate again. And we're going to talk about one of my favorite topics. And I've thought, how do I title this? How to best love anyone in your life that you love? How to best love your spouse? How to best love your boyfriend? How to best love your mom, your dad, your child? We're going to talk about the 5 love languages. And that is a book that I read very long time ago, when my kids were tiny, probably before Alyssa. But I read this book, The 5 Love Languages by Dr. Gary Chapman, and he was a counselor for years and a marriage counselor. And he wrote this book because he kept finding that this was a common thing that was happening all the time with marriages and relationships. It's not just about marriages. So if you're not married, don't tune out or tune off. It is about building any relationship. And what I love about this is we all have these love languages in us. And we tend to love people in the love language that we are. Right. And we think that is loving them. Yeah. But if their love language is completely different, then they're not going to feel as loved because that's not there. So let's first explain that there are 5 love languages. So they are gifts, acts of service, time with, touch, and words of affirmation. We're going to talk about each. Crazily, we all have a different number 1 love language. And how you find that out is he has a little quiz. I think he even has a website called 5 Love Languages. And you can go there and take that little quiz or read the book and take it. But it's going to help you know what your love language is. But you're going to need someone else to take the quiz to know what their love language is. Right. And we all have one of each of the 5 love languages. Yeah. I think that's kind of cool. So we're going to each talk about those love languages. But before we do that, I want to tell about why this is important. I heard Dr. Chapman on an interview, and he was talking about how he had spoke in one of the hardest prisons for the most hardened criminals, big burly men. He said when he was done, this one man came up and he said he was just intimidated with him just by his size alone. And he said this guy had tears in his eyes. And he was like, when you describe these love languages, you definitely described mine, but I realized that what my mom's was, and she's gone now, but she loved me her whole life in her love language. Wow. And he said, how different would my life had been with her, and maybe my life would have been completely different had she known this and known how to love me in my love language. Wow. And that was like, whoa, this is craziness. So it's important to know what someone else's love language is if you're trying to build that relationship or want to love them better. Right. So who wants to go first? I'm going to go last and talk about my number 1 love language. And so we all have them. Yeah. Yeah, all 5 of them. You have them to some degree, but your number 1 is the most vital, or your other person's number 1 is most vital. Number 2 is also important, but those top 2, top 3 are very, very important. So who wants to be first?
I'll go.
Go, Brooks.
So my number 1 love language is time spent with. You can also quality time. And I realized this actually when I was probably in college, when I had left the house. And then I realized that I wasn't like in the home as much with my parents and my siblings. And it was like those moments when I did come home and I did have that time together. It was like I realized I found myself like getting energized. text. And I think it's real funny that then, marrying into this family, that's something that we've talked about before. We're a big family that spends a lot of time together.
If nothing else.
But it's like, I could be exhausted and I could be like, I don't want to do anything else, but we talk about getting together and I'm like, okay, it fulfills me.
Wow.
I don't want to talk when I'm there and I don't want to, have a full conversation and but I just want to be
there.
with you.
Yeah. That's interesting.
And even with Brandon, we're both, because we're always go, go, go. And I think with our schedules, it's even more important that our time with each other, just sitting on the couch or, that's just what I need.
Yeah.
So it's really cool.
Very good.
Really
That's really interesting. Wow, Brooks, I never even thought about that.
Yeah.
Who? Listen.
So mine used to be time with, and physical touch was one that I was super high on my list my whole life. Like I wanted to go, I'd go sit on Dad's lap at the end of the day when I was little in his office, like that physical touch time with. But now that I'm older, I really think that acts of service has become my number one. For me, I don't know if it's just because I have 2 babies in the house, so I don't need more physical touch.
Help me!
I don't need any more on top of me than I already have.
I just need you to help me do things. Acts of service, please.
Yeah, that's for me. If Dale's like, "Oh, I already unloaded the dishwasher for you," or I put this in, or I filled up your car with gas. I'm like, oh my gosh. Even now, Bella, if she cleans up something, she'll come and tell me, "Mommy, I picked up all my toys," and I'm like, oh my God, I love that. I'm so proud of you, because for me, that really does bring me oh, you care enough. You see what I'm doing every day, and you're just trying to do that thing for me or take care of me in that way. And it does. It fills my heart.
Yeah.
Love
So
that.
acts of service,
Yeah.
doing things for the other person that makes them feel loved. All right, Felisha.
Mine is words of affirmation. I need you to tell me I am pretty. I need you gorgeous. I need you to tell me I'm doing a good job. If I do not hear those things, I get so in my head and I'm like,
Yeah.
am I doing it right? Am I not? And I'll be the first one to say, hey, listen, I need you to tell me this.
Yeah.
And I think that that's okay, is voicing how we need to be loved.
Yeah.
100%.
I love that. All right, Candace.
Mine's touch.
Of course it is.
Cannot.
The newlywed.
And I'm touch, and I don't know where it came. Well, touch and time were my very tying one, but touch now because we're newlyweds. But thankfully, Colby has let me touch her like that. That little meme you see all the time, I just need that. Oh my God, thanks. That helps. I don't know. It just feels security and feeling stable and just that safety feel. I think that's why I have it.
And I find it interesting that you said we get in our head, because think about that. If you're not getting your top 2 love languages from your significant other, from a family member, from your children, from whoever, you start thinking, do they love me? Am I okay?
Yeah.
You get in your head.
You do.
And it's very, very important that we are loving people in their love language, not ours.
Yeah.
Because we can love them all day. Now, I have gifts.
I have gifts, or I like gifts.
I like gifts. Here's the crazy thing. I think God has a wonderful sense of humor, because my number 1 love language is gifts. So what makes me feel loved? You're going to bring me a present.
Yeah.
My husband's number 1 love language is acts of service. So why I say God has a sense of humor is, all I have to do for my husband is make sure his laundry is done, make sure I'm feeding him dinner. If he just asks for something, then I just do that. And then poor man, he gets me gifts. She needs a gift.
Yeah.
But this is why I said that your second love language is important as well. I know. And so does everybody out there who has gifts. It's not our fault. We didn't choose these. I didn't really like, gifts, please.
Present.
Your second love language is vitally important because I can't have a gift every single day. It would be nice. But I cannot have, my husband's not going to be able to bring me a gift every day. My children are not going to bring me a gift every day. Yeah. We should worry about that. But no, I'm kidding.
Mother's Day's coming. Mother's Day's coming.
My grandchildren are not, people who want to build a relationship with me are not going to bring me a gift every single day. So I then by fault, and I didn't realize this until I had studied all this, I would go to my second love language, which is, anybody want to take a guess?
We know not touch.
Time spent. Why do you think we have Family Day? Family Day and family vacation, because time spent is my second love language. So I do get that one a lot more, but I do like gifts. And I just have a question for all of the people out there who gifts is your love language. Do you like to shop? Because here's what I've figured out. I like to shop because it's like getting a gift all the time.
It's a gift for yourself.
You're loving yourself.
You're loving yourself.
It's what?
It just shows up at the door.
Shows up at the door.
Shopping like mom, it is a gift because she's like, oh, what did I order today?
That's true.
That is true. That is true.
It's just, you can label it as self-love.
There you go.
Loving yourself.
Yeah. Yes, self-love
gift giving.
and self-care. And no, but I think about that because I do love to shop. I joke that I have a PhD in shopping. So one time, I'll tell a funny story. One time I was in a gift store at a hotel. And I knew that I wanted this one thing. And I walked in and chose it and handed it to the person. And this man standing there goes, I've never seen a woman come in a store and buy something so fast. And I said, oh, I have a PhD in shopping. And that guy, he laughed so hard. But anyhow, I just tend to think if gifts is your love language, do you, maybe not just with gifts, I don't know. Candace said she finds that she's reaching over and wanting to hold Colby's hand. Well, that's not Colby loving her. That's her trying to fill her love language. So do you find that if that is your love language and maybe that's not being done enough, not that they're doing anything wrong, or do you find, like me, I love to shop. Why? Because I want something new. That's a gift to me.
Yeah.
Candace is reaching over and touching. Do y'all find that you might fall on that too?
Me, I will catch myself if I'm picking up during the day and Dale's not home. I'm constantly in my mind going, oh, he's going to be so excited when he sees these things done. And I had this expectation that he's going to come in the house and be like, wow, it is just like, thank you for doing this for our family. That doesn't always happen. But in my mind, I'm like, oh, well, I'm loving him so much. I am just doing this.
What is Dale's love language?
His is words of affirmation.
Okay, so when he comes in and you have already built your mind up and he doesn't acknowledge it.
So I will literally say, have you noticed the house? Do you think it's clean? Do you is dinner good? Have you he'll be like 3 bites in. I'm like, how do you like it? How do you like dinner right now? But it's not, but it's because I am looking for those things.
Because that makes me feel better about the whole gifts thing. Because I went through, I'm going to tell you, I went through a period of feeling guilty that my love language was gifts. Not that I made these up, but I did because no one can buy me something every single day.
You can't fill your tank every day.
That's right. That's not going to be feasible. But, I can have time with. Does anybody else find that they're doing that too?
When Trevor and I first got married, this was a big tension point for us. And I didn't realize at that time, I didn't really realize love languages until we talked about it. Right. And Trevor was loving me in his top, which is acts of service. Trevor was loving me that way.
Doing the laundry.
And I was loving him with words of affirmation. And here's the thing, acts of service does nothing for me. I'm a DIYer. I can do it myself.
Right.
Just don't do anything for me. Just tell me I'm pretty. So we would fight
and tell you that you did a good job on your DIY project.
Yeah, exactly. Like cleaning the garage. Tell me I did a great job instead of pointing out what is wrong with the garage.
Well, press the little button.
Trevor, drink some tea.
But we had to learn and sit down okay, and Mom really helped us with this. She's like, you have to love her. You have to tell her, give her words to affirm her in her love. Yeah. And Felisha, you have to do things for him. So for me, it's making sure his dinner's cooked at night, making sure the house is picked up, like doing small things for him to let him know, like, hey, like, I love you.
Yeah, exactly. What do you find that too, Brooks?
I don't know how much if I find, like, I've noticed more of when it's not happening, how upset that I would get. And I would pull back. So like, because Brandon's is words of affirmation. Right. So now quality time is on, maybe like in his top 3, but it's not up there. And now he understands, obviously, we've been married 11 years. Like, we get it. But in those first few times, it was like, he just didn't get like that I needed that, you know? Yeah. And so I would be like, this is not working. Like, we're not doing this. And I would get so upset when he wouldn't want to have that quality time, where I would schedule our schedule out and be like, we're going to do this date night and we're going to spend this time together. And then all of a sudden he'd make plans. And I'm like, no. Yeah. Like, this is our time. Yeah. This is what I need. And it wasn't. And I can remember having those moments of like almost into like a depression of like, my tank is empty and gone, and us having to have those conversations.
And she's referencing her love tank.
Yes, sorry, my love tank.
Her love tank. So you get your tank fills up in essence as you are being. It's like making a deposit into the bank every time somebody loves you in your love language. You put a deposit in that tank, and your tank fills up.
So mine is so much of quality time that we joke, because when Brandon and I were dating, we would have dates, they'd go into the evening and it'd be time to go home and go to your own house. And I would literally sit in the driveway of their house and cry to leave. Like, I did not want to leave. And Brandon would stand there at the car and he's like, you have to go home. like you're going to be okay. I'll see you in the morning before work. Like, we're going to meet. And it was like, cause Trevor and Brandon lived together, and Trevor would come out the door and he's like, is everything okay?
Did you know at that time about love languages?
I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't at all.
Interesting. Mom was saying how it's a joke, that you marry dad and yours is so opposite. You have gifts, but how interesting that you ended up marrying a first responder, that he's not at home X amount of time.
And I thought about that too, like, because we talk a lot about, like, obviously love languages, but I've done more research, and I almost think about, like, I love the 5. I think that they're perfect and wonderful. But like, in my life as a first responder, I think there's one missing. I think almost the 6th one, and you kind of touched on it earlier, is like safety. Because for him, and for honestly for our family, we live in like a high alert life, like almost like a trauma response. Not only from the trauma that he deals with and then kind of carries home, but like, he's always on alert, right? So we're always thinking safety, and that's that aspect. But it's like, safety is almost like the base level of all of these 5 love languages. Like, you have to feel safe to be able to feel vulnerable. That's true. To be able to break down the barrier to feel yourself in these things. And so I thought about that too. Like, he's not home all the time, and I've had to learn.
So what's your second? Because that's where you would really pull from.
So I think it's acts of service. I think I've learned, because I've found myself loving him those ways and when we've been trying to figure it out. Doing the same thing, cleaning up the house, or or trying to make a room look pretty or something along those lines. And he's like, no. Like, he's total words of affirmation. Like, if that, like, there was a pyramid, like, it would be him. Which is funny because he's such a quiet person, but he needs those words of affirmation, and he changes. Like, you can see it. I think you guys probably have experienced that as well. 100%. Like, when you love your spouse in that love language.
And that's why it's important that you try, when they're small, you're not going to figure. And I think you said that he also wrote a book about children, which I'm sure it's just it's the same model of thing, but help you try to figure it out. But, and you said King, now you kind of just ask the questions in a more way he could understand.
We were doing like bedtime routine the other night, and I just kind of like, I always assumed King was words of affirmation because he's so much like Brandon. Right. And I've seen him kind of respond, and, you say, you did a great job, or you hit that ball really well and everything. And you can see it. But I honestly just sat him down. I didn't do a full quiz, but I was like, here are the 5 love languages. And I was like, do you like it when mommy hugs and kisses you? Do you like it when, I tell you that you're handsome or that you did a good job? Do you like it when I clean up your room or help you with your homework? And I just kind of broke down the 5 in a simple way for him. And all of a sudden he changes that it's not words of affirmation. It was the touching for touch. Aww. And then I start thinking back, and he is my cuddly kid. We have a couch, a long couch with 3 seats in it. He sits in my seat next to me. Like even though there's 3 seats left, and I'm like, child, like move over, you know. But now it all clicks. You know, you can't assume.
Yeah. Well, and I think and Alyssa talking about changing. I'm thinking back to when we went to the mountains and you came in my room crying, please help me. Trevor is just not loving me. And I'm like, okay, what is going on? Well, you started talking about how touch must be in your top 3.
It's my next one.
Okay. Because you were upset that he was not. And I'm thinking back that as a child, this is the child that would come sit on the couch with me. He had to rub my hand constantly. And touch is my last. So I can deal with it for a moment or two, but then it's like, could you move over? And so when you told me he wasn't touch, that was shocking to me. And I think that's when I first brought out to you, all right, we need to talk about the 5 love languages.
It was.
But I think that as you age,
it does.
You might be something completely different. That's very interesting.
I asked him recently when I was about to do this, I'm like, babe, what's your love language? I feel like it's changed. Or he goes, because I go, I thought it was, time and almost like mine. He's like, no, I'm words of affirmation. I'm like,
I
really?
can see that.
But I can completely see it.
And then he goes, then I like acts of service. So I'm like, oh, yeah. Okay then, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I was more.
What are your top 2 touching?
Mine is touch and time with.
Yeah. Time, yeah.
I like to spend, because I know
what all of y'all's number 1 is.
Yeah, but I also think that because, like,
listen, that's a new thing, and I think it really is because I am touched out, and I, like, as far as time with, again, like, I am nonstop with my family 24/7, so it's changed for me.
Yeah,
definitely.
What were you saying?
I was saying, oh, you're good. I think time is my second, because you know how, like, when we were younger, Dad would always be working. So I think that time that wasn't with him as much as we wanted to.
Yeah.
I think that's why I like time so much now. And I enjoy time with him now. I like to hang out with him all the time. Yeah. And then I end up asking Roxy, I go, Roxy, what's your love language? What do you like these things? And she goes, she's a touch. She likes hugs.
Really?
She likes things like that. Mm-hmm.
That's so
she's a teenager. She's a teenager. She likes to feel that comfort, I think.
Now, will she like cuddle with y'all on the couch and stuff?
So she told me that back in the day, she misses it a little bit now, but Colby used to like scratch her back like this, and like she likes head scratches and rub her back when she was younger, and she liked that. It's like soothing, I think, for her. So once in a while I'll go there, scratch her head and rub her back a little for her. Sweet. But I think she misses that, and that's why I think sometimes girls like that, because then they get a boyfriend, and then I'm like, oh, well, they're getting it now from their boyfriend, which is kind of on a, never know.
Well, and it's important to note that touch is not a sexual thing. So it's important that you do read what these are about, because I remember when I first just read them to Rick, and he didn't actually take the quiz years ago. Oh, I'm touch. I'm like, no,
it's not like that. It's so funny.
This is not.
Dad will lean
over. But Dad has to be up there for Dad.
It is in his top 3 because he is the one that, he in bed, he's going to want to be like an octopus.
Well, even
and I'm
around
like, get
us,
over.
like when we leave,
couch.
he's like, all of us, like that is
and
definitely
he always hold your hand.
Yes, and I think, like I said, we all have some form of every love language.
Right.
Think about it. Touch is my last, but as a human being, it is created in us to have touch. We have to have touch. That has been shown statistically, medically, all of that. We have to have touch. So all the love languages are, and yes, I love my husband and I, when we walk, we hold hands. We hold hands in the car. We hold hands while we watch TV. It's just something that we do, and I appreciate that, and that's good for me. So
that's enough.
And that's it.
I don't need you to be.
I think it's interesting, back to what you were saying about trust. Because if I went up to Roxy and was like, "Hey, Roxy," we don't have that level of trust for me to be like, "Let me love you," in your number 1 love language. So you have to have that level of relationship, trust, that kind of stuff, and
build to that. Definitely. And then if it is something like that, then what is their second love language?
Right, exactly.
So that you can work on that. But I cannot stress enough how important it is to know this and love the people in your life in their love language, because you're naturally going to love in your own. I mean, you think about it. You're going to miss out. If you're out with me, what's going to happen if we're shopping?
Get a gift.
Yes, it's true.
Amen.
Amen. Which, by the way, we need another song.
Yeah, it's like, we need a shopping day.
We need a shopping day.
Because that is but I have to know that I could buy you gifts all day. But if it's not in your top 3, you're going to be, all right, thank you. I appreciate that.
Well, if you hand it to me and say, Felicia, I just love you so much, then I'm
because you're so wonderful and
you're
beautiful.
With me, you're spending time with me.
And if you give me a hug with it,
if
then
you
I'm
put
like,
flowers
okay.
after you clean my kitchen. Just kidding.
But it is important.
You're gonna do well for us.
And so here's the thing that I want to challenge everyone to do, even ourselves, because sometimes you go along in life and you forget. You're loving in your love language and you forget about that. I'm going to challenge all of us. I'd love to say for the next 30 days, but if you only do 7, that's better. But I promise you that if you take and find whoever it is you're trying to build this relationship with, their love language, and you're going to have to give them some context and let them answer for you so that they know, because you can't assume what somebody else's is. If you do this and love them purposefully in their love language, I'd love to say 30 days, but at least 7 days, you will see a change in that relationship without a doubt, without a doubt. So I want to challenge us, but I also want to challenge you ladies out there too, and to find out what that is, and whether that's a child or whatever, because a child, a sister, someone that you're trying to build a relationship, even your friends, knowing what they are helps you to build that relationship, because they are feeling loved when you love them in their love language, not when we're loving in ours, because it's important that they feel loved. And when they feel loved, guess what? You're going to feel a better connection with them.
Very true.
And then it's important if this is your spouse or, someone like that, that's in your day-to-day life, that they know what your love language is and explain that love language and how you feel loved in that love language. That's really vital. Anybody have anything to add before we close out?
I use it at work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you were saying, it doesn't have to be just your spouse and just, that, but your sisters, your siblings, your parents.
Who are you building a relationship
whoever.
with?
I use it at work as a manager, it's something that I, take into effect. Like I know, with Candace what it is, and
she doesn't touch me.
No, but I'll go over and give her a hug when she does a good job,
because HR,
and
you gotta be careful.
And obviously Colby and Dale with words of affirmation, like you can see it and you get better results
because they feel like
working with.
It's not just feeling loved, but it's feeling appreciated.
I think that's at work. Everybody can probably say this. Affirmation. Like when your boss comes up to me and say, you know what, thank you so much for looking that up for me, because I had no idea. And just a good job is always the best at work anytime.
Yeah. And that goes like Mom's saying, all 5 is in everybody. Yeah. So I think using all of them in a way is great, but to really find out individually what their top is, any relationship you have is going to grow.
I think too, something to keep in mind is whatever that person's top is, that is where they're the most vulnerable. Yeah. So that is where, like, if it's not words of affirmation, try again. If that is their love language, then maybe your words are going to cut deeper to
that
someone.
Is so
if it
true.
Is
that is a great
touch, not having that touch and being mad and being like, well, I'm done for the rest of the day and I'm going to go not that cuts deeper than maybe it would for someone else. So
that's a very good point, because especially, any of them, honestly, but because I remember years and years of when you would supposed to get a gift on holidays, birthdays, and things like that, that was not Rick's, like, gifts is like way down on his. Yeah. So that was not a priority to him. But you know how badly that hurt me?
Because you had that expectation.
Because I was like, I'm supposed to have a gift, and you didn't take the time to get me a gift. Right. And so and then it took him a long time to realize that. So whatever their love language is, it can hurt them deeper if you're not, if you're doing it wrongly.
Right.
Is the best way to put that. All right. So that's all we have for this week. We are so glad that you joined us. Let's keep the conversation going. Put down in the comments below, because we do read them. Put down anything that you want to say about it. Go to our website and tell us things there. Even tell us some topics that you might want to talk about. And while you're there, sign up for our free newsletter so you can stay in the know. And I just want to encourage you this week to find your love language, but more importantly, find that significant other in your life or someone you're building a relationship with. Know their love language and go love them in that love language. All right, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.